All right, we are here with Miss Jabriah Anderson talking about the feature film Regrets. So, Jabriah, tell me a little bit about the film.
Well, it follows the story of Kia, a boxer who is trying to do better in her life, and her father is trying to come back in her life, but she does not want to see him, and she's also in the foster system.
Oh, okay. So you play. I understand that you're playing Kia in this movie. So tell me about that character.
Kia is a handful. She's a handful. She's very feisty. She has a lot of attitude, but then again, she's just a kid and she never really had anyone around her who cared about her, so she just wants to feel loved.
Okay, so how did you prepare for that role?
Honestly, I feel like it was very natural, and I know it kind of sounds bad, but I just felt like the character, she just came out of me. And honestly, I took my own attitude and kind of put it in there because I can't release it in other ways. So yeah.
Okay, so I understand that the movie initially started off as a short film,
Yes.
and then it was expanded upon to make it into a feature film. So how was that transition going from the short to the feature?
For the short, it was very sweet and simple to do the scenes, and it was like back to back to back, so it was like moving quickly. With the feature, it took us a while. The scenes, we filmed them. Um, we had some 15-hour days. There was a day I filmed from 8 a.m. till 6 a.m., I believe, all day. But that was honestly one of the best days on set, and just the overall cast, looking at that was also a big transition, working with more people, getting to know more people, and just having new relationships in this film, so having to form that bond with other people.
Okay, okay. So I know you were saying that, you related somewhat to the character and you didn't really, have too much to prepare in that sense. So when you first received the script, what about Kia's character kind of drew you in?
Her attitude. I love her attitude. It was just very, I don't play about who I am. I'm not going to take mess from anybody, and I feel like you have to stand by that. And it's just a good way to live your life, not to take mess from anybody so people can't walk all over you. And she stands for that all the way.
Okay. So tell us, how was it working with Mr. Maurice Paramore?
I loved working with Mr. Maurice. It's always great working with Mr. Maurice. It's always a fun time on set, but also very serious when it needs to be. And everything about just being in his presence is amazing. He's always very nice, very sweet, make sure you're taken care of and everything. He's a great director and a great overall person.
How was it training for those boxing scenes?
Rough. From the short film, I was in the ring bawling my eyes out when Chris does this drill where I just have to keep punching for a minute straight, and I hated it so much. And my mom actually has a picture of me like on the rails of the ring, like hanging over, like, no, please, enough. And for the feature, he had me rolling tires around, doing squats, doing push-ups, and I don't like working out. But it prepared me for my stage combat class, so that helps a lot. But it was a rough time.
Okay, all right. So speaking of Chris, how was it like working with him?
It was great. I loved working with Chris. We had a really good relationship, especially from doing the short together. So we always had that playful aspect versus when you look at the film, it's just like, oh my God, Kia does not like this man. But behind the scenes, it's a great time. We always run our lines together, so that's always great. Everything's always smooth. And honestly, he's a great boxing trainer, and he was a great foster dad, unlike some other father that I have.
Okay, all right. So let's take it back. You were 15 when you first shot the short film and 18 when you finished the feature.
Yes.
What was that like?
Shooting the short film at 15 was just like, my voice was so much higher. So like saying certain lines, I was like, I don't sound serious. Like I sound like I'm like joking. Versus like hearing it now, it's just like, wow, there's a lot of like attitude behind that voice. And I also took in the lines so much differently this time around, now that I'm older, so I understand more about it. and you could hear, like, I personally feel like you could see and hear the pain in my voice when I would say certain lines, versus back then I didn't know much about what I was talking about, what was happening. I never experienced those type of things, so it was much different versus knowing now, even though I still don't have that experience, thank God, but just knowing what people go through and seeing people that I know that have gone through it. So
Okay. So you spoke on like those different challenges there. With Kia's character, what would you say is her biggest obstacle in the movie?
honestly, just finding where she belongs. She never really had that family, those friends that actually loved her the way that she needed. And even though she knew who she was, she never had people around her that showed that they cared. So she pushed everyone away. She pushed her foster dad away, her stepmom away. She pushed her dad away when she finally saw like he's really trying, but she was scared. So I feel like her biggest obstacle was finding where she belongs.
All right, so Jabriah, you have to tell us, what are you up to these days?
I'm in college now. I go to school at AMDA, which stands for American Musical and Dramatic Academy. I go to the New York campus, and in 2 years, I will be attending the LA campus, and I'm a studio student, so I'm doing theater and on-camera acting and taking stage combat.
Okay, all right. So how's it? How's life in the big city? How do you like it?
It's definitely different from being from New Jersey. The city never sleeps, as they say. We're up and out all times of the night. You hear people 4 a.m. just walking the streets or just running into different actors, but keeping my cool, because I'm an actor too, So just walking through movie sets, like all of it is just amazing being out there.
All right. So listen, before we wrap things up, you have to tell us what was a memorable behind the scenes or on scene moment for you guys.
I want to say when I did probably the jail scene or the dinner scene, because both scenes, the jail scene, I had both my dads there. And I had one where I was just like, okay, like I'll talk to you. And then I look up and there's the other one, and I'm like, oh gosh, who brought him here? Like, I don't want to deal with you. And that was just a fun scene to film, because it's like I'm just at this point, I'm over both of them. I don't want to speak to anybody, and they're just grilling me, and I'm just like, I'm nothing like either of you. Neither of you know me. You don't know anything about me. I can do bad all by myself. And then for the dinner scene, I'm going back and forth with my dad, and my stepmom's just sitting there like, I don't know what's happening. And I felt so bad for her in that moment, because I'm literally telling this woman, like, I have nothing, no problem with you, but this guy right here, I don't like him. And I just felt like it's so funny, like having the adults be the ones to look at me like, oh my God, like, wow, versus it being the child. Like, I'm telling them, I've had enough of you. Enough. Be quiet. Stop. I'm leaving. And they're just like, I can't do anything about that. So yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us today. Looking forward to seeing more of you, and I'm sure there's going to be great things in your future.
Thank you.